If you're wondering how to be more feminine this year, I'm so excited to bring you the 6 powerful ways to radiate your confidence and grace as a woman, how to slow down, be more in your body, more present. This, I tend to only share it with my one to one clients, but I want to share it with you also because there is a wait list, which, if you'd like to get on it, the application is in the type form link in the description. And I want to share it with all of you before the new year so that you can be more clear on your vision and we can all bring this best self down to earth. You're going to want to stay until the end of the video because that's where I ask all the questions to be even more clear on who this woman is that you want to be and perhaps facilitate a vision board process or whatever resolutions you're going into the new year with. There are 6 areas of our own lives that we can control. Those are the mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, sexual, and financial areas. And they become extraordinary because we expect them to be the highest and we expect of ourselves to meet that highest standard. Everything else is simply a repercussion of all of those decisions that are being made by those around us. The rest of this video is going to be about tips as to how we can improve each of them. Welcome to the first, last, only, and best day of your life here at Devoted to Extraordinary. You know that's what today is, and this moment is so precious. So, if you also are wanting to become a woman of virtue, I invite you to subscribe and come along the journey with me. So, this is the graph I tend to share with my clients just to outline the circles of our control. If you'd like it, by the way, you can subscribe to my Substack where it is going to all be outlined very clearly. If you're honest with yourself and you fill in from a number of 1 to 10, where am I in each of these areas? You can see how the wheel evolves throughout the year. It's the most fun game to be able to see it visually like this. Comment below where each of you are in these areas because we can encourage each other. The first area, the mental, it is what gives order, harmony, reliability, and discipline. These are all about your decisions and your choices. We have a free will because we each have a capacity to choose how it is that we want to live our lives, and that all comes down to our habits. If I go one day without moving my body or without going to the gym, which is the physical side, or if I go one day without perhaps reading my Bible or contemplating a topic that I think is very interesting or writing about it, then I feel a little bit unfulfilled in that area. Or if I go another day without doing too much, it means that I haven't actually thrived in the mind area. So if you can trifecta these mind, body, spirit, one thing for each every day, then you'll feel quite fulfilled. So, to be more feminine in the mental capacity, you want to be strong through your vulnerability and you want to find softness through your doing. It's all about creating that space for more vulnerability, which is not a weakness. Asking for help, as I said in the other video about 10 habits to be more feminine, is all about acknowledging that we are part of things. We are not independent, but interdependent. And to be able to say, hey, I know I can do this myself, but can you help me do this? There is so much grace and openness in choosing to ask because the man knows that you could do it by yourself, but they also acknowledge that you're asking for them to step in. Being able to rest and lean back quite literally when someone else is doing a task creates this container in which your love resides. So, in another video, I talked about how every single act of love is like a drop of water, and every single one of those drops of water are going into this container. So, when the container is full, you have this wonderful full glass. And how can you create that if you're not leaning back to accept the water to enter into your relationship? You really want to embrace the power of vulnerability because that makes you even stronger. Now, there is a lot more that goes into this, but confidence is all about accepting, loving, and embracing and owning who you are. Perfection, as I've said before, is not about an ideal that is completely and utterly without errors or failures or weaknesses or mistakes. It is rather embracing all of those negative or bad traits, but rather the embracing of all of those because it is seeing something in its wholeness. I liken it to a drawing. When you draw an apple, if you just draw the outline, it is a 2-dimensional drawing. But according to the lighting, it casts a shadow. And if you can shade in where that shadow is on the apple, it suddenly becomes 3-dimensional. So if you only share your perfection, what you consider to be acceptable, what you think everyone else should like, then they're only seeing one face of you, one side, what is two dimensional. And there is a lack of humanity there because they're unable to relate to you. So as soon as you allow someone to see your weaknesses or your vulnerability, then they can love you even more because they can accept that you also are human and you are sharing that in your wanting to bond with them. Perfection is a completeness and a wholeness. When you also accept yourself fully and honor your worth, which comes with a whole lot of things that we're going to be talking about in the course Goodbye Good Girl, you need to learn how to own it when someone attempts to make fun of you because it is not that they're making fun of you which causes the issue, it's that you also make fun of yourself when they make fun of you. Don't let others' reactions take the lead on how it is you feel. You determine what hurts you or what doesn't. So, for example, I was once at a theater get together. I was in theater society when I was at university, and they love to pick on each other. They love to be the most loud person in the room, and I felt I needed that at the time. I wanted more confidence. So I was part of this group in theater, and we had recently had a Halloween party where I went in a leotard as a lion. And so at this party, they were recalling that, and they said, "Oh, yeah, and Julia just showed up in like this leotard as a lion." And I looked at them and I said, "Yeah, I did." And then I walked out the room. I was just passing through. It's not like I was sitting with them already, but to be able to say, yes, and is so much better than to fall in the shame of it. Because ultimately, what we normally do as humans, which is kind of scary to admit, if our sense of self is low and our validation is only found externally, we try to control each other and we try to be powerful by putting others down and we try to gain our power from them. So when these kids in the theater group were trying to say, oh, yeah, well, Julie was looking like this, what I was saying was, you cannot control me. By walking out that way, by reacting that way, I was really owning my confidence in who I was. That is such a feminine capacity to be able to say that no matter what you say to me, I am good. So, in the mentality of this confidence, you are able to walk into any room, into any space, and not be shaken. That is true resilience, and that is true confidence that will last a lifetime. That is truly balancing strength with softness, and it makes you the most feminine woman. The next mental aspect is to embrace softness. A normal emblem for femininity is a flower, and flowers are soft and graceful just in their being. So we want to be more soft. We want to embrace that softness, and we do so by kindly and gently speaking. This doesn't mean that we're meek or that we're weak, but rather that we're able to calmly communicate. Calm communication is an art, it's also part of relationships. To have more gentleness and softness in our body language, more fluid and more graceful movements. You want to have more gentleness in your speech and your actions. So your body language can be practiced to be more leaned back. For instance, right now, I have great posture. The way that I'm sitting, I'm leaning back into the chair, I'm relaxed, I'm open, my shoulders are back. My face is super bright. I'm open. I'm using my hands a little bit to express. I'm involved in what we're speaking in, and I'm equally calm. You want to be able to make gentle and open gestures. This welcomes the atmosphere where others also feel included. What I tended to do a lot growing up was making sure that the other person knew that I liked them. So I would nod or smile and agree, as they're speaking, and that can sometimes interrupt conversation and the fluidity with which they're speaking and wanting to be heard. So, to see it that way meant that I leaned back even more and let them have their time. When you practice this on a date, a man will try his best to gain your approval because you won't be giving it to him throughout the time. Because a man aims to please, he will be looking for that nod, that smile, and that acknowledgement that what he's saying is being liked. So he will attempt even more to tell the story or to please you in some way because he wants to be acknowledged by you. And this isn't a manipulation tactic to just appreciate what a man is saying by giving him the space to say so. Too many relationship issues can arise when a woman attempts to speak over a man because she is assuming what he has to say before he's even finished his sentence. Be the opposite. Be the most feminine woman by leaning back, giving him the microphone, and letting him get to his point because you may even enjoy the journey of the story he takes you on. He might crack a few jokes that you didn't expect, and you can practice being the one who receives because that will set the tone for the rest of the date, whereby he will try to impress you. Something very important to note is that all of these things exude from how feminine you are at your core, which is what is in your heart. So, how much you've been able to let go of past hurt, how much grief you're holding onto, which is only love with nowhere to go. You're simply going to live with it for a while, perhaps, but to be able to soften your grip on the things you cannot control is massive. And we're going to get to a prayer about that, which I adore and has saved me many times as soon as we get into the spiritual aspect. The emotional aspect is all about your emotional intelligence and not only what you know theoretically, but your emotional maturity, actually putting that into practice because you know your needs. Everything that we do in life is to meet a need, most likely. Hopefully, you're also at the capacity to meet once, depending on where you are in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you're trying to meet physiological ones or if you're reaching for self actualization. But everything that we do in life is to meet a need. The area of the emotional is to be able to feel safe. It is only when we come out of survival mode, which I'll also be telling you about in the Goodbye Good Girl course, and you can sign up below for the Substack where you will hear all about it in the coming months. Then, only then, will you be able to slow down. Survival mode keeps us in the I need to, I have to, immediately, I must, versus the ability to take that breath and realize that you're never going to run out of breath until death. You get breath every moment of every day without even thinking about it. And to be able to slow down in that time is to acknowledge that you can create. To aspire for beauty and to reach for it and to seek it is to acknowledge that we can also create in life. So, how it is that you're making your life look by design is entirely because you're able to slow down and realize that you're not just trying to survive, you're trying to thrive. You're able to thrive. So, being your most feminine self has to do with coming out and being out of this survival mode, which I do talk a little bit about in my video on the difference between anxiety and intuition. A massive, massive part of being emotionally mature is about knowing what you need and being self aware on what your desires and your virtues and values actually are. Only with your own self reflection and only with your own time and perhaps journaling and conversations with other people are you able to get a grip on it. Again, this is why knowing what your intuition feels like is so helpful. You will only actually attempt to be meeting your needs and desires when you know that you're worthy of meeting them. Before then, you won't consider it worth your time. So, I also put in the video on 10 habits to be more feminine how it is that I calendar my time and how I also put on my to do list all these ways of taking care of myself because that is such a massive aspect to being a feminine woman. And then, of course, the art of life is all about actually knowing how to ask for the things that you need. So, the emotional area is also very much involved with relationships. Communication is obviously something that needs a lot more time than just the 1 minute I'm going to talk to you about it here. But to learn how to communicate softly, gently, is going to make things so much easier than feeling that you have to be angry with him or nitpicky or any of these things that we all just create so many conflicts around. One very good tip to communicate well with others is to actually share the why. Once, of course, you know your needs, to go forward and share your motivation and your intention with it is going to help the other person because if they're trying to please you, then they'll be able to be motivated themselves with the very same why. For example, the other day I was at a restaurant and I had been there 2 weeks prior with my family, and my sister had ordered this Mediterranean bagel with what I love caramelized onions and fried up peppers and all these delicious things, and goat cheese, of course, it's my favorite. And I told the waiter I tried it and I loved it, but I'd like to order it so I can have it all to myself today. I had gone alone for lunch and he showed me the menu and he said, "We just changed the menu. It's not on the menu anymore." And I was like, "Oh no, I really wanted to have it. It was delicious." And he said, "Well, let me see what I can do. I'm going to talk to the chef and see if he has the ingredients." And I said, "Thank you so much. I really appreciate that." And he came back a minute later and he said, "For this one time, we'll do it for you." And to know that femininity has that influence on men where they can also please you, come back and share with you what they did for you, and you can be excited about it and thankful and appreciative. It's just such a wonderful blossoming. I really loved that this waiter, Daniel, who I previously didn't know at all, had done me this wonderful favor and had brought that joy into my life. And he felt that also. So when we can share, hey, this was something that I really would have appreciated because, then they can say, "Well, let me see what I can do for you." And suddenly they're motivated because they understand your motivation. The third area that we can control to be more feminine this year is the physical area. As I've shared on previous videos, it is so important as a feminine woman to actually enjoy the clothes that you're wearing. My entire closet, I'm so pleased with it, and I love every single outfit that I wear. If I don't, I actually don't even want to put those clothes on, and I dig through until I can pair together a top and a skirt or wear a dress that I haven't worn that way before. I really want to feel like my best self, my most extraordinary self, every single time I step out the door because I never know who I'm going to encounter. And also, I just do it for me. I love how satin feels on the skin. I love how velvet feels. And for years, I used to thrift velvet things and also very shapely things for the woman figure, which aren't the type of clothes that you find in the fast fashion stores nowadays. And if any of you know of a good feminine store, I would love for you to link it below so I and everyone can benefit from more feminine clothing. When I speak on shapely, I mean like the 50s bell type skirts that used to hug the waist so well and then just go out at the hips so you have like an hourglass figure. Make your authenticity shine and that make your confidence brighter when you walk out the door. I also didn't even have my ears pierced until about 2 years ago, and it has changed my life to be able to wear lovely earrings because when I put my hair up specifically, I feel like I'm a bit bare, but to have some dangly earrings just decorates me, and I feel so completely different than I do without them. To wear delicate accessories, to have some bracelets, or maybe some meaningful necklace is going to impact your energy as you walk through town or as you live throughout your day. Appearance is, of course, the easiest thing to change to feel more feminine, but it's all about actually what it's doing to your inner dialogue, your inner narrative, and your thoughts about who you are as a person who is feminine and not just appearing feminine. Another thing you can do for the physical aspect of control to be more feminine is to ground in nature. Every single morning, I walk my dog as well as every evening, and I love to go without shoes on, or I'll just carry my flip flops if there are some stones and I need to put them on. But I love to just feel the grass on my feet, breathe the early morning air, and thank God that I am alive. And I really am in touch with all of the elements when I can take them in fully in this way. And I'm sure you have other ways. Perhaps you can walk down by the beach or you can go on your promenade. Just go and walk outside and connect with what has been created by the creator versus being in four walls all the time, every single day. For the fourth area of control, we have spirituality. To feel the most stable and resilient in your femininity, it is so, so vital to have this correspondence and communication with God, with the spirit, with what is within you that is tethering you to this earth and your knowledge of who you are in the Holy Spirit. Before I was Christian, I also knew this prayer. My mom first shared it with me and it changed everything. It's called the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. This is such a vital part of the process of coming out of survival mode and going towards seeking that beauty and self actualization in life. Because as a feminine woman who is able to say, there are things that I can't control, is already for half the effort to be finished. Because a lot of us in relationship who are nitpicking with our partners are attempting to control who they are. I heard from Alison Armstrong that men will say, you can either tell me what to do or how to do it, but not both. And I completely agree with this. But what we'll tend to do as women is say, Stack the dishwasher. No, but do it like this. That leaves no room other than for conflict. So not only do you want to say the serenity prayer, but you want to be serene and calm in your demeanor. And you want to acknowledge first what it is you can versus what it is you cannot control. You actually do not want to control everything if you are a team in this life, not only perhaps with your partner, but if you don't have one, then with God, you are a team. You're never alone. And you're able to identify what it is you cannot control, because to want to control the little things is to not have self control over the deeper, larger things in life. To want to have control over the little things is to not have self control over the deeper things. So you want to be able to acknowledge what those deeper priorities are so that you're not on the surface trying to adjust every pencil to be straight on the table. Save yourself and the people you love from fighting by acknowledging what you can control and spending your effort on those things, so much so that you have no room for any hate. If the Serenity Prayer helps you, I would love to know in your comment below. It has saved so many women I know. If you have yet to develop a relationship that is strong with God, this continues on for me, and I hope it will never end. I tend to say when something goes very well, thank you, God. I tend to immediately associate the blessing with Him sending it to me because He is the creator. And this has me acknowledge His power. This has me build a relationship with Him, and He's now grown to be so much larger in my life. Now, that's hard to appreciate at the start, and I understand that, but just practice this. And what about when something goes bad, Julia? What then? I know this happens all the time. Of course, there will be things that occur that we don't expect and that we do not want, but how do we embrace them? How do we see that everything is good? We ask the very question when something goes wrong: how is this for my good? How is this for my good? You will always find the evidence of the things you search for. In fact, you become the questions you consider. So ask the question that will give you the answer that will help you become your better self. These are your senses, okay? We're not talking about being physically intimate with another partner in this video, nor pleasing yourself. We're talking about honoring your sensory awareness. Feminine energy is about flowing and having fun in the present moment. To be able to enjoy the music that you're listening to, or to love the fabric of the dress that you're wearing and how it feels against your skin, or to appreciate baking bread and how that feels with the touch of your hands and how you're kneading it. If you cook a delicious meal, then to taste that on your tongue and how it's such delicious food and you put so much love into making it. All of this is honoring your sensuality, as in your senses, in real time. Even up on this poster years ago, when I journaled of the questions that I'm going to be telling you at the end, one of the answers included the sentence, I am centered in the sensory feelings of the present moment. I am centered in the sensory feelings of the present moment. And I love that because it reminds me that this is all there is. Right now is all we're given, and nothing is guaranteed. Because today is the first, last, only, and best day of my life. I don't know when it's going to be taken away, but I have been gifted it. And right now, in this moment, the food tastes so good. Or this perfume that I just sprayed smells delicious. To be feminine is really about having that self expression through beauty. Not only appreciating how you dress, but also doing your makeup, spending 10 minutes a day on you. Because of the nature of my business and how I'm on camera, if I have a sudden thought that comes into my mind, I want to be able to turn on the camera, and I'll only feel prepared to do that if I have done my makeup. So the way that I'm there for myself and for my senses and sensuality is by making sure I spend 10 minutes a morning on my makeup and I feel fully myself and put together. Not only is this good for your femininity, but it's also good for your motivation, because you'll feel that although you might be working at home, if you do, you are ready for the work environment and you're prepared to face that confidently versus lazily. So, lastly, we have the financial area, and I like to dedicate service to this area because you cannot expect to reap what you do not sow. Each of us does. So, how much are you helping others and how much are you giving value to others? Only that investment is worth getting a return on. So many of us have talents, but if we do not use them, then we're actually not doing God's work. This was massive for me to read because I used to be so shy and I used to hoard my gifts. But I do know about femininity. I am so self aware. I love learning about emotional intelligence, and sharing them here with you is what is multiplying my talents as well as the glory that you now can bring to the earth. The story in Matthew goes, there is a master who gives his servants according to their ability. One man receives 5 talents, which he doubles. Another man receives 2 talents, which he also doubles. And a third man only receives 1 talent. So, with his little 1 talent, he chooses that he wants to save it, and he digs a hole in the ground so he can keep it safe. And when his master returns, he gives him back the 1 talent that was given him. But his master is actually sorely disappointed, and he says, "Why did you not double this, just like the other men did?" And he said, "Master, I just wanted to keep it safe for you." But the master really wanted this man to do something with the talent. So even if we're blessed with 1 talent, we're able to get 2 out of it. And that is respectful and the right thing to do because we're motivated with what we have to create even more. So, do you hoard your gifts or do you share them? A very big part of creating and sharing and being of service is knowing that all the costs are even. So, if you put a price on something, you will receive what you expect to receive in return. So, unless you put a fair price on a service, it won't be exchanged in a way that you feel a lack of resentment towards it. This isn't the fault of the person who used your time and effort, but yours. You are able to control the value and the price of the service that you provide. You can only value the service you provide once you know the value that you're giving to others and you appreciate your own personal worth. All of this took me, and I know it takes other women, a lot of self validation and inner work that takes us out of shame and into this confidence in the ability to take up space and be seen in the world, all of which we'll be talking about in Goodbye Good Girl as well. Of course, as much as the financial area is about being of service and giving, it is also about receiving because life is a perpetual circle in that regard. And surrounding yourself with other women that you admire so that you aren't the one who's setting the bar or setting the standard in, oh, well, look at you. Of course, you're always the brightest one in the room, the smartest one, the most beautiful. Put yourself in spaces where you feel that you're reaching, where you are also very aware and very happy to be surrounded by women who are setting the bar so high that you get to be their friend. These would be women who uplift you and they surround you with encouragement for your growth. It is so important to receive love, to receive compliments in a way that will also make them feel appreciated. If you feel uncomfortable or guilty when someone else helps you or gives you affection, that is not a very good exchange. It is in your control to be able to accept the love that they're giving you because you need to believe first and foremost that you're worthy of it. Now, as for those questions that I promised you to become the most extraordinary woman that you were designed to be, they are the following. If you want them written out, they'll be in the Substack. To remind you, the course Goodbye Good Girl is going to be discounted for the first 100 women who buy it, and you will be able to receive a notification for when it's available if you sign up to my Substack in the description below. You can take out your journal, your iPad, a sheet of paper, however it is that you want to do this, and you can just write out, who are you becoming? What does it feel like to be her? How does she move? How does she speak to herself? What is she ready to let go of? What is she not tolerating anymore? What does she desire? What does she choose? How much money does she make? What is she unapologetic about? How does she impact people? What is her why? What comes easily for her? How does she make things fun? What do her relationships feel like? How does life work for her? And what is her relationship with God like? Hopefully, all of this is going to give you an answer as to what visuals you would like. I know I'm going to use these questions to give me a solid paragraph on what my life is going to look like this year, and they're going to help me get the images that I'm going to put on my vision board so I can see them and be reminded of this woman who I'm becoming every single day. If this helped you, please comment below how. I look forward to connecting with you on Substack and other platforms. And until then, harden not your hearts, love and serve each other.